let's skip to a financial thing, just to
All right.
just to do this. So Larry Kudlow has got a show now on Fox Business. If you don't remember Larry Kudlow, he's the guy that said the pandemic was over in March of 2020 when it was just getting started. He was part of the Trump administration. He's a total idiot. But he's going to talk to the senator, and they're going to bitch about electric vehicles and oil prices. And I just, it's so fucking backwards how they do this shit. But here it is, Larry Kudlow on his Fox Business show.
Alongside that report, we have a Saudi OPEC meeting tomorrow. Don't know if they want to influence the Israeli war or not. Joining us now is North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer, who state happens to be an oil-producing state among its many munificent benefits. Senator Cramer, welcome back to the show. Yeah, just a quick thought on our Edward Lawrence report. 3,900 dealers are in full revolt. They can't sell electric vehicles. They're sitting on the lot between 12 and 16 months, and they cannot sell it. What does that tell you, Mr. Kramer?
So I'm going to tell you what's going on. So there was a report that came out. 3,900 car dealerships, like your local car dealership, got together, signed a letter, basically saying we want to push back against the press for electric vehicles, right? Which is what's going on through the White House. The reason is because we have a lot of these cars sitting on the lot, and it's costing us money. Now, part of it is where they're located. You know, certain areas it's hard to sell an electric vehicle because the infrastructure is not there, or they're just not popular, whatever it is. The problem with this whole thing is, here's what happened. So I'll show you this article real quick, but there's no mandate, even though they spin it that way. So this is the Bloomberg, the electric car dealers press Biden to ease U.S. electric vehicle mandates. So there is no mandate, actually. What happened is the government said, look, we want to get car emissions down. Electric vehicles is an easy way to do that, right? Mm-hmm. There are problems with, we don't have the infrastructure totally in place. Some of the technology isn't quite where consumers want it to be, some consumers, right? But what they did was they said, okay, we're going to do what China did and what Norway did, right? Because those countries, like 1 out of 3 cars is an electric car on the roads. And the reason it's so high is because they've gave huge tax incentives to people to buy electric cars and for dealers to make automakers to make electric cars and sell them. So part of the reason dealerships are getting these extra electric cars that they've got to store that they're pissed about is part of it is because of the president, but part of it's because of these tax incentives, right? If I'm the automaker and you're selling, I'm, Toyota, you own a Toyota dealership, and I'm telling you, well, 20% of the cars on your lot have to be electric vehicles so I can get the tax break, or you have to pay me inflated prices for everything. And I'm sorry, that's just regulation risk. That shit happens all the time in business. But they're bitching. It's like, okay, so you want to raise the taxes again on these things. Well, no, we don't want to raise the taxes. We just don't want, we want you to still get the tax breaks. We just don't want to have to do anything to get the tax breaks. Which is essentially what this whole letter was about that they're fucking discussing. So I just wanted to sum that up before they get into it, because it's so stupid.
Tells me that you cannot have a market that is heavily subsidized, full of mandates, producing a product that nobody wants to buy. Sure, it produces, to quote President Biden's letter, a lot of good-paying union jobs if that's your goal, but they're going to be short-term jobs because no one's buying them off of the lot. And this is just another attempt to manipulate the market, manipulate the supply by changing the demand.
Okay, I want to put a pin in that real quick. This is just trying to manipulate the market, right? We're just trying to increase demand by lowering taxes. We have never, ever done that ever in the history of the United States, except for every fucking day for the last 150 years.
Yeah.
But here's where he fucks this up. So the last 13 months, or 13 quarters, sorry, over 3 years, electric vehicle sales have gone up every year. Right now, I have this on, I'll show everybody. It's a Fortune magazine article, but I'll just skim through it real quick. So let's see, they were up this year. And let's see, right now, we're trying to get them up to where they are like in, 33% of sales in China are electric vehicles, 35% in Germany, and 90% in Norway for the first 6 months of 2023 of this year. Okay. So there's an advantage to this environmentally too. The problem is that a lot of our car dealers and automakers didn't ramp up for this. They didn't prep because they were so busy gouging prices after the pandemic to sell what they had at highly inflated prices, and they were making money hand over fist. It never occurred to them that, oh, maybe we should gear up and start developing better technology or start investing in developing more, places that you can do recharging or better batteries. So now what happens is all the automakers in the US are having to go to Tesla and beg for batteries. And Tesla's been lowering the prices of their cars, right, to try and put pressure on General Motors, Solaris, right, Ford. Because if Tesla lowers the prices of its cars and makes them more affordable, then these companies can't mass produce them and push them and buy them out of the market, which means they have to now lower the prices of their shit. And because they didn't bother developing the battery technology or trying to get their own patents or anything like that, now they're in a position, though, even though they have all the manufacturing capability, they're kind of screwed because they got to go to Tesla to beg them. And Tesla doesn't have the manufacturing capability. So now Tesla can overcharge them. So even though, like, what ends up happening is the cost of EV is down for buyers by $3,700. It's still a little bit more than a gas car, but it's not that much more, and it's coming down even more. And you're seeing more and more people. So this whole bullshit about people aren't buying them, people are buying them. The problem is that a lot of these dealerships in these states, especially North Dakota, where they're conservative, they're telling everybody, don't buy the electric vehicles. They're pushing this whole narrative, and then they can't understand why people aren't buying electric vehicles. It's like, because you just spent millions of dollars to do ad campaigns against them.
And like, it doesn't make any sense.
And you want the tax breaks from selling them, but you don't want to have to sell them.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. You can't have it all the ways.
Right.
You gotta pick. At some point, you gotta pick.
But like I said, this is the definition of tripping over your own dick. I mean, it just amazes me. But Larry Kudlow is such an idiot, and this guy's not any brighter.
You can't force it.
The market can do that.
Yeah,
you can't force it.
You can't jam it down people's throats. This is America. The culture said
nobody's jamming anything down. They're just giving tax breaks. That's not jamming it down your throat.
No, I mean, that Biden will not listen to this. Let me move on. OPEC meets tomorrow. Saudi, OPEC Plus, which means Russia, in the middle of this Israel, Hamas, Iran war and so forth. What's going to happen here? How do you read this OPEC meeting, and what do you think the Saudis will do?
Well, it looks to me like they're prepared to either, keep status quo or even reduce production, which I think the recent drops in price have anticipated an increase in OPEC production, and now the tea leaves are looking the other way.
Well, that's why they're dropping. So he was close. I'll give him that. He was close. He just misread the thing. So oil prices have been going down, right? Now, that's good generally for us because we're the biggest consumer of oil in the world. So for the United States, that's wonderful. If you're Russia, China, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, that sucks because you're getting less of that American money that you're dependent on, right? For us as the consumer in America, that's great news. But now he's upset that it's like, okay, what OPEC's going to do is they're going to try and squeeze down oil prices, right? What they're going to do is they're just going to produce less oil to try and raise the price, right? Which they've done many times before. They try to control the price. Well, now they don't have as much leverage as they had before. Why? Because we produce more energy than we consume. Because our consumption's gone down, but our energy production's gone up. And why is it that we're in this better position to bargain with them and to manipulate oil price? I don't know. Maybe because of electric vehicles and electric stoves and shit like that that he's all fucking pissed about. I mean, if your company was outperforming your competitor, you wouldn't be complaining about, well, why are we outperforming our competitor? That's stupid. We should be giving them the advantage.
Right.
But then he's going to double down and get even stupider. I just love this clip. I saw it the other day. Wanted to share it with the world.
Which is why prices are coming up a little bit. But what it really tells me is that why do we, as the United States of America, with all of our resources in the Bakken, the Eagle Ford, and other places, in fact, by the way, what quarter of our oil, even on federal lands or under federal lands, why aren't we determining the price, the world price of oil, instead of allowing OPEC?
Well, that's a good question, right? Why aren't we doing things to determine the price of oil? Like, oh, I don't know, reducing our consumption, right? So he's
Right.
against reducing consumption, but he wants us to tap our reserves and produce more oil, thinking that somehow that'll give us total control. Well, let's look at this real quick. This is just Worldometer. This is a couple years old, but it gives you a good sense. So our oil reserves, this is what we have in barrels. This is tapped oil. So we have the 11th largest in the world. Probably should be higher, but whatever. Our oil production has gone up. We're first in the world under global rank. We produce more oil barrels per day than any other country. We also consume more. So this is our deficit, this 4.8 million barrels a day that we have to deal with from OPEC, right? You go back 10 years before Obama made us push for all that and we became an energy exporting nation, right? Before that, you're talking about oil production here was next to nothing. And that number was 3 times what it is today. So yeah, we've actually built it down to the point where we're consuming less and less while producing more, and we are manipulating oil prices. So we're doing everything he wants us to be doing. He just doesn't like the way it's working. I mean, this is like getting everything you want. You just didn't like the way we got there.
At that point, I want to say, stop your bitching.
Right.
You know?
Right. You got everything you wanted. Shut the fuck up. On top of that fact, I love Biden's just pushing this EV thing to manipulate the markets. Yeah. Yeah, of course he is. But then what does he turn around and say? Well, we should be mining and producing more oil to manipulate the markets. Can't we do a little bit of both? Furthermore, just from a military perspective, you don't want to tap your fucking reserves unless you have to. We got to go to war. We're going to need all that oil.
Right. Well, just like once you start tapping your reserves, listen, it's not that different from when you tap your emergency savings in your personal bank account, right? Once you start tapping that, you have to stop and go, whoa, what's going on here in my finances that's requiring me to tap this?
Right.
And how do I stop the bleeding? Right? Looking at the oil, people get themselves really uncertain because, like, oh, I don't know anything about oil. But you could literally just boil it down to that sort of thing. Once you start tapping the reserves, you got to kind of pan back out and look at what's going on, because you start getting yourself into pretty questionable territory.
Yeah, and there's still some of that. I mean, you could make an argument that maybe we should be tapping more, but there's still this Cold War mentality where part of the reason we went, we got into the bed with Saudi Arabia and a lot of those countries that we really shouldn't have, even though it was horrible, was partly because it's like, well, we have all the oil reserves here. Yeah, but those are our reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if, push comes to shove and we run to the point where we're running out of oil, which is more of a technology issue, there's always going to be plenty of oil. The question is can we get to it? Because it's getting more and more dangerous to dig deeper and deeper. Right.
Right.
But if we've got stuff that we can get to easily that we just haven't tapped yet, right, that's the smarter thing to do. Because if push comes to shove, we at least have the ability to get oil. So at least we're going to be okay. But that was always the thinking during the Cold War about oil. It was better to take it from the Middle East or take it from, Argentina or Brazil or whatever. Better to get it from them than to tap our savings.
Right.
Right. So anyway, I just thought that was a fun clip of two idiots. Man. And Larry Kudlow, man, he is so stupid. I can't believe I can believe he's got a show on Fox Business. I couldn't believe he was in Trump's cabinet. I mean, considering Trump, I can believe it, but
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know.
Oh, that guy couldn't find his butt cheeks with both hands. I swear, it's so stupid. Anyway, let's that was the news segment for today. Let's move on. Let's do at least one clip. We have time, we might do another. So for this clip, it's mostly for you, Lace. This is a woman. It's called A to Zen Life is the name of her channel. And she's doing a bit on 10 personal finance lessons that changed my life.